Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Under the Wire, which is not a scheduled Under the Wire this morning because I wasn't 100% sure who I'd be speaking with, but I am extremely lucky to have with me Anita Hofmeister, whom most of you would know as the president of the Australian Vaccination Risks Network. Hi, Anita.
Hi, Meryl.
Anita has just returned from a 3-week tour from Gympie in the south of Queensland. Oh, hello, Steph. And all the way up to Coranda. Was Coranda as far north as you went?
Yep. We went to Coranda and then back down through the middle, down through Charters Towers, Emerald, Roma. Yep, back down to
Yeah.
Toowoomba.
You really
Mm.
hit all the hot spots, didn't you? Literally hot spots.
Literally hotspots. Yes.
And the
Yeah, we had a
aircon.
great time.
Yeah, that's good. And Steph was the first person to pop onto the page here. And Steph was your support person. She had a little red van that she and her daughter Haley followed you around in. They were your gophers, your assistants, your everything on this tour. And we can't thank them enough for doing that. So thank you, Steph. Hello, Christina. And hello to Michelle as well. Um, Tell me a bit about what the tour was like and how you think that it was received by people who were on the road with you.
It was incredible. Like the first one, it was an incredible experience. It wasn't quite as hectic as the original tour, just because the numbers in those regional areas just aren't the same. What occurred to me about halfway through the tour is, as much as we're gathering the stories for our documentary and we want to give people a voice, and that's what we're trying to do, it occurred to us halfway around that what we're really doing with the bus is bringing communities together, which is something we hadn't really thought about initially. But what we found with the bus was, in those smaller towns, all those people would come to see the bus, and a lot of them didn't know each other. So we had these people who were feeling quite fearful, quite isolated, not knowing what to expect. And then they got to the bus and they met all these like-minded people in their own community. A lot of them they didn't even know. So there was a lot of swapping of numbers and details, and you could just see the camaraderie, and you could see people getting just a little bit stronger and standing a little bit taller at the end of the day, because they're like, wow, all these other people are in my town. And people are scared to speak out. People really are, because I suppose people noticed on our Facebook Lives of the tour that in a lot of towns there didn't seem to be very many stories, and that often wasn't the case. But a lot of the stories we did as audio only or record only, because they were terrified of going live, because they either have a local business or they work locally, or just the fear of backlash, even from friends and family. Like the fear is real. And that contrasted with what I thought found in southeast Queensland, where the communities are quite strong, they're quite supportive of each other. There is that strength of, they can take things on a bit more. Where the smaller towns, the fear is real. Sadly,
Mm.
the fear is real. And it was nice to be able to at least, give them a hug while we were there, give them support, and connect them locally, because I think that's what they need going forward. It is more local connection.
That's true. And that's what we have seen in Southeast Queensland, where there are groups with upwards of 2,000 people who all work together, support each other's businesses, help each other with child minding and even preschools in some places. It is important to know that we're not alone, because if we feel alone, we're terrified of actually lifting our heads up. And it's great that you were able to get people united in that way. And that is a really good benefit of the bus, no matter where it goes, whether it's in a rural or a regional area or a big city, a capital city. I think that's a really important way to look at this. So that's fantastic. How do you think the people who came on the bus, like they might have come terrified and feeling alone, how did they leave?
I think most of them left very happy. On some days, we'd actually, when the bus was leaving, there would still be a group of people still there talking to each other, which we thought was nice. So, no, I think, and the ones that did speak out, there were several who did speak out and go on the Facebook Live, who at the start of the day were quite hesitant and thinking, do I really want to do this? And of course, like we saw in Southeast Queensland, after they tell their story, after they've been heard, they come out just a bit taller and a bit stronger, and they're very, I've never seen one person yet say, oh, I'm sorry I did that. They all come out saying, I'm so glad I spoke up, I'm so glad I said that. And we had some really interesting stories on this tour. I hope everyone watched Jason from Gladstone, who was the ex-troll. His story was, it was great. It was great because, it really gave you an insight into how he used to think. And he used to be that horrible person online, and it was just watching Vaxxed changed his whole world. I mean, he was on the verge of losing a good friendship over his views,
Mm.
and watched Vaxxed and was a changed man, and was a big enough person to apologize to his friend and say, I was wrong and I should have done this research. And yeah, he was just an incredible human being. We had another one, I think it was Michael in Rockhampton. Same. He didn't have a vaccine injury story. He was actually looking to other things and thought, well, what are these people complaining about with vaccines? He just sort of looked into it to debunk us, and just the more he looked into it, the deeper he got, and he just couldn't believe what he found. So it was interesting. We had quite a few of those stories this time around.
And
And I was
Jason, oh,
actually
sorry.
amazed.
You go ahead. You go
No,
ahead.
you go.
Oh, I was just going to say Jason's story shows the importance of friends not giving up, because his friend was very gently sharing information with him, and it it took a while, but he finally did look at it, and once he looked at it, it was all over. So, yeah, and that's fantastic. So all of these stories are on the AVN blog, aren't they? On at avn.org.au, and then on the blog, so you can go and watch the stories that were recorded. But you said that there were a lot that either were audio only or only asked for it to be recorded, not live streamed. What was the reason that many of those people did that? Can you share what they've said?
Um, a lot of them just were scared because they are in a small town. Some of them, their professions don't allow them to be heard in that way. And there were some truly horrific stories. It was a shame that they couldn't have their stories heard, because some of the most horrendous stories I heard onto it weren't actually on the live.
Mm,
Some truly horrendous things. And it's like we hear all the time, Meryl, it was always a coincidence. Like a child could have a vaccine in the morning, be in ICU that afternoon, and it was a coincidence. A person has a flu shot in the morning, they're deathly ill that night in ICU. It's a coincidence. We heard that coincidence story so much. So, of course, vaccines are safe and effective. If all of
yeah.
these things that happen are always a coincidence, it was just another indictment on how the health system treats people who are vaccine injured. It was just horrific. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was, there's so much injury out there. And as we found on the first tour, we're just the very tip of a big iceberg, because everyone that came to the bus said, oh, you should hear so and so story and so stories. Like everyone there could name off another 4 or 5 people that they knew locally who could be there to share stories and weren't. So when you get into how extensive the damage is out there, it's very sobering and it's very sad. Yeah.
And you were going to some fairly small, towns, and yet you were still finding people, even in small towns, who have had pretty horrendous experiences with vaccinations. And it sort of puts the lie once again to what we've been told, that vaccine injuries are 1 in a million. Because if they were 1 in a million, we wouldn't be doing this tour, because there wouldn't be enough people to speak with about vaccine injury. But everywhere we go, there are so many injury stories and so many families living with grief and guilt and all kinds of horrible emotions that really they shouldn't be dealing with. Um, if as you went along, what sort of response did you get from the people who came to the bus, even not to share a story, but just to come and see the bus? What did they do?
Oh, people are wonderful. We just got showered in love, and we were saying hugs are our currency at the AVN. There was a no COVID plan, I have to say. We were hugging it up everywhere we went. The best benefit for me for the last 3 weeks is COVID just hasn't existed. It just hasn't existed. I haven't been watching the news. I haven't been keeping up with that stuff. We were just a love bus going around sharing love to all these families that needed it, and people just came with food, lots of food, and lots of love, and support. Like people were just so thankful. They are so thankful we're doing this. There are just so many incredible people out there, and that's what's heartening is there are so many truly wonderful people out there, and they're just so intelligent, they're so loving, they're so incredible, and you absolutely can see how we're going to change the world because there's just too many great people in it doing great things. So that was really heartening. Of
Absolutely.
course, we weren't loved everywhere we went. I can't say we got any media attention except in Gympie.
What
While
happened?
I was on the bus doing a story in Gympie, this little car pulled up because the people outside told me, and this lady got out of the car and took photos of the bus and then jumped back in this car. So then I came out of the bus and someone said, I think that lady might be like a reporter or something. She's here taking photos. And she was still sitting up in her car. And I thought, I can't go knock on her window because that will be anti-vax crazy harasses poor reporter or something. So I just gave her a wave and a smile, but she didn't come back. And then later in the day, she must have come back because the story that she actually put in the newspaper that night had a photo of the last story I did from the day and the lady that was signing the bus, and that was from behind the bus. So this lady must have come back, taken another photo, and within minutes of that photo being taken, her article was up in the Gympie Times. The Gympie Times we made.
The
And
big
it was
time.
something like anti-vax bus comes to Gympie, but I'm like, why didn't she just come and say hello? Why didn't she come and ask me a question? Why didn't she come and talk to us? She was right there twice.
Well,
Why wouldn't a journalist cover both sides of the story and even ask us what we were doing there or something? But nothing. She just obviously had the story that she was told to write, and that's what she was doing.
that's not
So that was
journalism.
the only media that I saw.
Yep, that is not journalism at all. I just have a comment here from Kayleen Garvey. She says, I didn't think my story was big enough and I wasn't going to share, but I found it very comfortable chatting to Anita and shared it. So thank you, Kayleen, for that. And I think that's something that we saw a lot of. I know on the first tour, we met a woman in Toowoomba who had 6 children, and every single one of them had been injured by vaccines, and she didn't think that her story was big enough because none of them actually died. And we're like, no, sorry, that is a really big story, and everyone's story is a big story, and they all need to be heard. The whole world is telling you to shut up, and we're saying, please speak out and tell us your story. They're valuable. So yeah, that's fantastic. I'm just trying to see. Helen Labato has put up a link to all of the tour stories. Thank you for that, Helen. And thank you also for putting those all on the website. It's great to have them all in one place. Connie said that she watched some of Jason and thought it was really interesting. Um, Rana, I'm not sure what you need. Hadel Zito on Talking Without Fear about Vaccine Injury. So I'm not sure if that is someone who's written about that or if you're referring to someone who you want to do that. And Emma, thank you so much. Love to you as well. Emma said, love to you, ladies. So that's great. So um, you had some mechanical problems on the tour too. The air conditioner, the generator stopped working the first day. So that
Yeah.
meant that meant that you could not use the
Yay.
air conditioner. And that would have been
No, not unless yeah, not unless we were at some places we had access to electricity, so that was wonderful. We could plug the bus in. But no,
mm,
cans all day, no electricity. That was a bit intense, but we did have lovely shady spots in most places, so it wasn't as bad as you'd think. But yeah, Cairns was a big day for me. I think I did over 12 interviews, and yeah, it was
wow.
quite humid, but we, it had to be done, so that's what we do. But yeah, the weather was nice mostly. It wasn't Arctic like the last Southeast Queensland tour, which was probably probably a good thing. But no, it was interesting. Like there was lots of, I think, a lot more flu vaccine injuries on this tour. There
Hmm.
was the requisite amount of Gardasil injuries, the amount of fertility problems with the Gardasil vaccine, truly shocking out there. Like, yeah, truly, truly shocking. And, warning to parents again, if you know the Gardasil's being administered at school that day, try and keep your kid home, or have your daughters well informed, because we had several instances of girls being given Gardasil without parental consent, or also just like the girls themselves knew they weren't to get it. So when they were called in, the girls said, no, I'm not to get it. And they went, oh, no, you're not. But obviously, if those girls weren't on board, they would have received it. One mother went even as far as to write on both her daughter's arms, do not vaccinate. And
Wow.
which was fortunate because she did get called in and the girl was like, no, I'm not supposed to get it. So, and one of the girls that was given it accidentally did end up really, really sick. I think that was one of the Harvey Bay Day interviews that was live. You can watch that one. So, you know, it's just it's just horrendous. They would just give it without consent. There's just, oh, whoops, sorry, whoops, sorry. Like, what can you do? Basically, what are you going to do to them? Yet it can
Yeah.
ruin a whole life. So that was pretty sobering. And of course, I met Michelle and Asher Stubbs in Kuranda, which is,
Mm.
and yet another. That was a bittersweet moment. It was so wonderful to finally meet them, but it's just such an awful story. And we don't know if Asher will ever be better. We don't know if this treatment will continue to work for her. Yeah, that was a really emotional. It was a beautiful day when she signed the bus, but it was equally horrible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was someone that Tasha spoke with probably close to 5 years ago now when she went up to Cairns for the first time. And if anybody's interested, we do have Ash's first interview on the AVN website. So, and as well as the more recent one. And she was Gardasil injured, and her mother's had to fight every single step of the way to get Asha the treatments that she needs. And the government has done nothing but oppose her treatments. So it's pretty crazy. Um, Anna Crumlin said, how is Michelle?
Oh, well, Michelle, I mean, she's emotionally spent, I think, like
Mm,
they both are, because it's been a long haul. I think they're as well as they can be considering their circumstances. The love between mother and daughter there is incredible. If you see the bond between them, it's really beautiful.
mm,
And, it's Michelle is the warrior, fighting for her daughter, but that takes its toll. And what's hard for them is where is the end? Where is the end for this? Like they might have to keep fighting this forevermore unless something is found for Asher. So it's a long haul.
it
It's a long
is.
haul, and it's just awful to think that you know Merck and Co know all about this and what Gardasil's doing, and yet these families are left to just suffer and fight by themselves with the government essentially, and there's no pharmaceutical company in sight, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Beth Knight, now she's asking, can someone point me to resources for my 19-year-old young adult daughter who is feeling the moral pressure to go and get vaccinated? I come from a family with adverse reactions. Now, moral pressure, is that because you're being told that vaccines are not for the good of your daughter, but they're for the good of society? How would you like to respond to that, Anita?
Oh, well, I mean, gosh, get informed. I would start with our website,
Mm,
avn.org.au. I mean, you just to answer that question, you just need to research vaccines and know the history. I mean, if you know about the decline of the diseases and the diseases themselves and all the problems with the vaccines, I don't think anyone's moral stance is going to sway you. If you might be able to sway them back a little. It's just
exactly.
that's just
Yeah.
emotional blackmail with no science.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not a moral issue, vaccination. It's not any more than taking antibiotics is, or any other medical issue. It's not a moral issue. Vaccinations are supposed to be for your own good. And if they're not for your own good, then what the heck are they for? So, yeah, Steph Nelson said, thanks, Adam, for the big shade trees. So I guess in Cairns you
Ah,
did
we
have some
loved
shade.
Adam.
Did he wear his hat when he
Yeah.
was at the bus in Cairns?
He did. He
Oh,
did. He wore it in his interview. Yeah,
love it.
no, he was incredible. No, we had so many wonderful helpers all along the way. We had some lovely free accommodation. People just went above and beyond. It's truly humbling how, because I mean, that is putting yourself out there, having this bus parked at your house with your neighbors in full view, or at your at your business in full view of
Mm,
everyone knows what it is, and yet people did that time after time. They were proud to do that, and that was really incredible. Yeah, because I know one place in Maryborough where we pulled up, an actual doctor went and was looking at the bus and said a few words, and one of the people that housed us there went and had a few words back as if to say, well, what? Why can't they be out here, doing this? So it was kind of interesting. You was talking to Steph there watching. When we're in Harvey Bay, three very, I would say, pro-vax nurses came up to the bus. I was in doing interviewed, but they got Stepped.
Which is now a verb.
That is now a verb. I'm getting shirts made up with "get Stepped." I just got Stepped and Steph you. 'Cause can I say, Steph was just amazing on this tour. She was so wonderful outside of the bus because she was organizing people for interviews. She was talking to people, getting their stories, seeing what they needed, helping them with information, and she had her daughter Haley there, who everyone probably knows is vaccine injured. Haley did so well. Haley, we called our tour manager because she was helping set up. There was actually quite a few miracles happen for Haley on this tour. She was actually doing things even we didn't know she was capable of doing. She wanted to sit in on some of the interviews, and sometimes she sat in there quietly, perfectly for 25 minutes at a time, which Steph said is normally not something Haley can do. So it was just incredible. The bonding was amazing. Steph was just love. Everywhere we went, she just spread the message. We all proudly had our shirts. Everywhere we went, we represented the cause. And we did it with a smile and we did it with a big heart. And Steph Nelson, you're just a legend, darling. We had, it's hard to describe the time we had because, there's a lot of tears on these tours, but there's a lot of laughs. It's every emotion you could ever experience, and often it's within a 10-minute period you experience everything. So, yeah, I'm so glad Steph and Haley came along because it just wouldn't have been the same without them. They were just incredible. And also to Mighty Mick Make a Mate. Mick was our bus driver who I happened to meet in Toowoomba on the last tour, and he said, what do you guys need? I said, do you have a bus license? And he crazily said, yes, I do. So he got seconded for 3 weeks to drive us around North Queensland and Central Queensland, and he drove that bus so well. It's a big bus. We took it places you wouldn't think you'd take the bus. Mick was calm. He was happy. He was great. He could fix things on the bus. He was just the perfect human being. Sometimes the universe just does that. They just send you the perfect person. And as you know, Meryl, I'm not easy to put up with for any length of time.
That's not true.
It's a little bit true. And we just and as I said, we called him Mick Make a Mate because everywhere we stopped, every roadhouse, everywhere, Mick just struck up conversations with everyone. And sometimes they talked about the bus, sometimes they didn't. But anyone would think that the people associated with our bus are just nice, wonderful, social human beings that were not scary. Yeah, and he did speak to a lot of people that would come up to the bus during the day saying, what's this about? And, Mick's just got such a lovely, calm manner about him. Poor Mick did cop about the only hater we got on tour. When we're in Emerald, a lady did come up, did walk past and say that we were spreading misinformation and that we were dangerous and all these things. And she wanted to know where all the money was coming from to fund such a thing. And when Mick said, well, it's actually families of vaccine injured people, she was a little taken aback, but she was quite hateful. She was the only person we really saw was quite hateful. Most haters didn't show their faces. We actually were, when we're in Mackay, someone took a photo of the bus and put on the Mackay Facebook page that the baby killers are at Queen's Park, so go down and tell them what you think of them. But of course, no one showed. We did have a lady in the background a few hundred meters away taking photos. I didn't know if she was media or not. I didn't see any stories, so I don't know if she was. We had a car pull up 200 meters down the road for a while and then left. So I don't know what that was. And then when we pulled up in Roma, on the local Roma Facebook page, they put this, the horrible anti-vaxxers are here, and they put a link to the current affair post about Angus. About
right.
Horrible people. Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, so they put that on the Facebook page and said, go down there, and they're like, oh, next minute bus catches fire, all this sort of hero garbage.
Wow.
But no one came and said hello. I mean, we were sitting there with the bus. Any of those people would be most welcome to come by and stop and have a chat and have an actual human conversation. But that's not what the haters do. They just get on their keyboards and
No.
spew all this filth, but they don't actually want to have the conversation. So for all the people that are scared of coming to the bus, and there are a lot of people always scared to come to the bus, the haters don't come to the bus. They
No.
haven't got the guts to come and actually have a conversation. It's all the love is what you get at the bus.
Yep. They're typical bullies, those people, and they're cowards. So they won't front up. Unless they're behind a keyboard, they're not going to say two words because they are cowards. We've got a question here from Anna. Do any of the health professionals who come up to the bus acknowledge the parents and children?
I would say yes, because any health professionals that come up, most of them are parents with children.
Hmm.
You know, they're humans first, and that's usually why they're at. If they come to see the bus, that's why they're there,
Right.
because they're concerned parents too.
What about those 3 nurses who got staffed? How did they respond to getting that information?
Well, 2 went away, I would say, somewhat changed, like, in like how they were thinking, because Haley was there and Steph introduced them to Haley and explained Haley's story as well, but gave them information as well. So 2 of them were quite changed. The third one was, you know, she was a brick wall. She was not going to change for anything. But I thought at least they came to the bus. Kudos to them for at least
Yeah,
coming. So,
that's right.
and later that day we had 2 plainclothes police officers pull in because they thought the bus said waxed and they wanted to know what it was about.
Maybe they wanted to get their legs done. I don't know.
We were like, well, we can't give you a Brazilian, guys, but we can have a chat to you. So.
I'm just looking at your shirt and trying to see how could they possibly think that's a W.
Maybe they're Russian. I don't know.
That's true. That's true. Or German. One or the other.
Yeah.
We have ways of making you
So,
get waxed. Sorry. Oh dear, that's
but
funny.
they were really open. They just drove in honestly saying, "What is this?" And then when we told them, they were really on for a chat. They wanted to know all about it. They have, like, one of them is a father. He has kids too. So they were just incredibly open. And some places we pulled up, shopkeepers come across the road and go, "Oh, I didn't know you guys were coming. Oh, we love you guys." Like,
Wow.
we just have people pull up and say, "I didn't know the bus was coming, but I love what you do." And then you'd meet random people at roadhouses who didn't really know about it, but once you told them about it, that's how good on you. Like, that's a good thing to be doing. So, all in all, it was incredibly positive. Yeah, it was.
It sounds powerful. And I think that maybe one of the reasons why you got such a good response from total strangers is because right now vaccine damage is so pervasive in society that everybody knows someone who's been affected by vaccines, even if it's not in their own family. And that's a sad commentary, but I think it is an accurate one. Before, like 30, 40 years ago, almost nobody would have known someone, but our schedule is so chock-a-block full of vaccines right now that yeah, I think everybody knows someone. Nadine says her screen is black and she's wondering where we've gone. You may need to hit refresh on your Facebook page, Nadine. I don't know if anyone else is having this problem, but nobody else has said it. And Steph said, "We love Make a Mate Mick." So, yeah, I mean, I'm sorry that I never got to meet him on the tour. Hopefully, he'll do some other tours with us. And yeah, we do need drivers on these tours. So, if anybody has a bus license, an HR or an MR license, and they are on site and they feel like volunteering for 3 weeks for room and board, please contact us. Well, the pay is really crap, but
you get hugs. You get hugs everywhere you go. You get a lot of love.
Yeah, if hugs and love were currency, you would be the richest people in the world, I reckon. So, yeah. Sharon is asking, how many names are on the bus now? How many names have you got on there?
We've got up to 189 now.
Wow. And that's only in the second tour,
There
so
would
that's
be a
5 weeks.
yeah, and there would be a lot more if more people would have been wanting to do it. Like, I think if everyone that could have spoken up that we saw on that tour would be up to 250 by now. But that's the fear of even putting your name on a bus. I know that sounds crazy, but that the fear is real out there. Yeah, it was palpable.
It is. Yeah.
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 And
Oh,
also
sorry.
on Facebook, oh sorry,
No,
on
no, you go.
Facebook, people would have noticed towards the end that I was actually going live on no compulsory vaccination page because the AVN Facebook page just wasn't working. You would have full reception and it would just keep dropping out, or there'd be no sound, or all of the above. So I went live on no compulsory vaccinations. Suddenly, all my problems disappeared. So yeah,
Mm.
that was an interesting aside to everything too.
Yeah, the
Facebook was
Facebook
doing weird
police
things.
were obviously watching our page, but not watching no compulsory vaccinations page. And yeah, it is, I mean, their fear of people actually getting to see these stories is amazing, because they don't want anyone to know about this because it's bad for the bottom line of whoever their sponsors and funders are. And we can't boost posts or take out advertising on Facebook or Twitter or any of those pages because they simply don't want people to know about this. Deborah said if damage was 1 in a million, only 26 would be damaged. A lot more names on the bus already. And that's exactly right. And we've only been to two small areas of Australia. We're starting in less than 2 weeks a tour of New South Wales. It's going to be 3 weeks down and probably 3 weeks up. And I can't even imagine how many stories we're going to hear on that tour. So it's one of those things that, what do you think? What need does the bus fulfill in Australia? Or what needs? Because it's probably more than one.
Well, after this tour, I'd say the community involvement. I really did think the doco and getting people heard, and being heard is powerful. It is. I mean, when people tell their story, they do get off feeling better. But just getting out there and seeing this whole, community around you and all these wonderful people there, and the energy of that crowd, all those people in one space of that like mind, and it's an incredible energy. People just love, just some people only come for an hour and then they stay all day when they get there and they realize just how wonderful a space it is. It's a bit addictive, really. Like when you get off the tour, you're about, whoa, I'm missing that, because that's what you miss, is the camaraderie and that beautiful energy that comes with this community, and just the support and the love. It's just a very loving place when you come to the bus. And yeah, it's yeah, I think that's the most powerful thing. It's not even the bus as much as, we're not into material things. Yes, the bus is important, but it's just the vehicle for bringing people together. And
Yeah.
that's what we need. We need to bring people together, and grassroots. I always tell people, the AVNs can't fix anything, or do anything. It's grassroots. It's everyone in their own communities getting together and doing their own thing. That's what changes the world. It's going to be a truly grassroots thing that gets this done. And that's what the bus is doing.
Yep. So it's spreading inspiration as well as just, enabling people to tell their stories, which is a great thing. What was the response to people in other vehicles when you were driving down the highway or driving through towns? Tell me a little bit about that.
Oh, we got some of the best looks. It is so much fun sitting in the front of that bus and waving and smiling, because some people just be crossing the street and they look up and see the bus, and it's just this what the on their faces. It's really funny. We enjoy that far too much. But we get a lot of honks, like a lot of, supportive honks, like randomly. Like you'd be driving along and someone will honk and be like, oh, there's someone who loves us. And it's just we really hardly got, like, you don't get anyone being rude out the window or anything like that. Like, honestly, you just get support driving along. And I'll tell you how used I am to being on the bus. One night we went out for dinner and we're in someone's car, so we weren't in the bus. And as we're driving along in the car, I'm looking out going, why aren't all these people looking at us? And then it occurred to me, Anita, you're not in the bus.
That's gorgeous.
I got so used to being in the bus, and now it's like, oh, people don't look at us anymore. It's back to being boring now. You get so much attention in that bus. You really do. And even at the servos, I think when some of the people aren't sure when you're going to pay for the fuel, I think they're not really sure what the bus is, but they're like, that's an amazing bus. And I'm like, yes,
It
it is an
is.
amazing
It
bus. And
is.
that's, yeah. So it gets attention wherever you go. It's good fun. Yeah.
I love that. Um, it's it's interesting too. You told me, or I don't know if it's you or Mick who told me that getting off the bus, it was almost like getting off of a boat because it took you a while to get your land legs back again, that you were sort of swaying for a while.
Yeah, yeah. Some of the outback Queensland roads, the politicians obviously fly over and never have to drive. And we are looking into getting new shockeys in the front of the bus, is all I'm saying, because we actually were kind of seasick after some of those really incredible roads. But I have to say, my favorite bit, and this is probably, I don't know, we just had too much fun. We actually stayed overnight at my family property here, and we got on the horses and we did a lineup of horses in front of the bus. I haven't actually shared that to the actual AVN page, but I probably should, because that
Yes,
was
you
our Vaxxed
should.
Outback. We lined all the horses up with the bus, and it was great fun. We were very authentic with our Vaxxed Outback, and I have to say it was pretty incredible to look out our window and see the Vax bus at the front of the house of a morning. That was pretty cool.
And looking at the bus when it got back to Ipswich, I have to say that I think you took more than a little bit of central Queensland back with you as well. The bus is no
It
longer
was
just black,
authentic.
it's all red. It needs a
It's
good
Vaxxed
wash.
Outback, well and truly. Yeah.
Oh, okay. We've got a question here from Emma. I understand the borders are closed at the moment, but was there any talk or plans for bringing the bus to Tasmania? So, are we gonna like get a hovercraft, turn
If
it
you
into a
can you go the
hovercraft?
back way? Can you go the back way? I don't know. Somebody said you actually can get from Sydney to Tasmania with vehicles. I don't know if that's true.
I think it
That's
is.
what
I think
someone
there's a
said.
ferry. There's a ferry from Sydney. I'm pretty sure. We definitely want to go to Tasmania. I want to
Because
go. I love
we
Tasmania.
cannot go to Victoria. We
Mm.
cannot do Victoria. So,
I don't think we want to. We
yeah.
feel so bad for everyone who's living under that dictatorship right now. But we are not able to get into Victoria, and if we did, we wouldn't be allowed out again. So, yeah, it's one of those things. But we definitely, Emma, trust me, we definitely want to go to Tasmania, and preferably when it's really hot here, so we can enjoy your cooler weather. Uh, maybe in February. Who knows what'll happen in February? So Sharon said the
Yeah.
media has done a good hatchet job of cowing people to speak out, and that's very true. The media, the government, and the medical community have all colluded to do that. Brenda said, love hearing the enthusiasm, and that's true. I don't know how many of the people watching this now have seen Steph's interview of Anita. I'm going to embarrass you now, but Anita did the most amazing interview when she was at her property about her experience with vaccination, well, vitamin K and Hep B for her daughter, and also about how she actually got roped into running the AVN in a moment of
It's
weakness.
all Meryl's
It
fault.
is my fault, and I'll accept that responsibility. But if you haven't watched it, please do. I have to say that I was in tears through a lot of it, and you were in tears through a lot of it, and it shows you what what's involved in becoming someone who cares so much about other people's health, well-being, and rights. And I think that it's a really important lesson for all of us, because many of us are only doing the very basics, and we could really use a lot more help. And I think once people see that what a difference it makes to actually put your hand up and to do this kind of work, I think more people will want to get involved. Oh, Sally Ann said Roro, roll on, roll off ferry. Is that from Sydney? So, and she's saying the horses. I guess she has. Have you seen the picture, Sally Ann, of the horses? And Haley, who is afraid of horses, was actually patting the nose of one of the horses, which is, again, an amazing victory. That's fantastic. So, yeah, you wouldn't have gotten me on one of them,
Yeah.
but but I love horses. I would have gone and patted one. Uh, Nabila wants to know if we're coming to Broken Hill while we're in New South Wales. Nabila, we are going wherever people want to tell stories. So if you want us to come to Broken Hill, get your people together who are around you who want to see the bus, have them register. I'll type in the place to register. And if we get enough people, we will definitely come to Broken Hill. What we're doing is we're going down from Mowillamba down to Sydney. And we have so many stories in Sydney that we're spending almost a week there. And then we're taking a break of 2 to 2.5, 3 weeks between tours, and then flying back down to Sydney to pick up the tour, going down to Bateman's Bay, and then coming up through Canberra and all these other places. So, sorry, Steph just said, would you come for a ride with us, Meryl? I don't know. I was thrown by a horse in my younger years, and I'm a little bit nervous about getting on the back of one of them. But I don't know. Maybe I could be convinced. Um, so, yeah, Amelia, you can find Anita's story on the AVN Facebook page, on the No Compulsory Vaccination Facebook page, and also on the blog page that Helen Lobato shared above. So, yeah, if you want to watch that, please do. I think it's such a good story. And Sharon said she loved the horse picture. I think you do need to share that on the AVN page. That's really, it's such
Yeah,
a
I have
great
to
shot.
share it.
Yeah. All the horses lined up in front of the Vaxxed bus. So this is only our second tour, but the bus is certainly getting around Australia. So yeah, it's very good. Oh,
Yeah.
so I'm just trying to think what else. Did you find people on the tour? I have to bring COVID into it because it's COVID. Did you find that people on the tour were really concerned about the COVID situation? Were they worried about it? Um,
It's actually interesting, Meryl, the difference between, like, we toured in July, Southeast Queensland, and we were asking people, how you feel about it. And people were like, oh, I'm not worried about the virus. I won't be getting the vaccine. Skip through to September, and everyone's like, oh, it's a total scam. It's a total scam. Like, the difference in only that amount of time. No, people are just like, it's a total scam. It's a fraud. The numbers, like, it's just ridiculous what's going on. It's not about a virus. It's crazy. There is no way on God's green earth any of them are going to get the vaccine. But interestingly, they all said, like, within their own families, people who are pro vaccine would not be getting the COVID-19 vaccine.
mm,
We got a lady who owned a shop who just, did a poll of all the people that come through, just asked them if they'd get it, and they all say no, they're not going to get it. So, and the people that came up and talked to us who just wanted to know about the bus, you'd start talking about COVID. Oh, no way are they getting this COVID-19 vaccine. So that was interesting. But yeah, the difference in people from July saying, oh, and to now going, no, no way. No way are we buying this crap. So it was because people would start saying it and they go, oh, can I really say it? I'm like, absolutely. Say whatever you want. It's your story. Because they think there's what they think they should say and then what they actually want to say. And it's so much better when they say what they actually want to say.
that's
That's pretty
right.
cool.
And you've given them a space to
Yeah.
do that, which nobody else does. So that's fantastic. It shows you people are a lot smarter than the government thinks we are. They're not going to be fooled forever. I think, I was a little bit nervous in the beginning, thinking maybe they finally engineered something that's going to kill us all. But within about 2 or 3 weeks, it was obvious that this was nothing more than a scamdemic. And it's great that people are actually seeing that now, and in large numbers, even people who are pro-vaccine. And maybe
Well,
this is pushing it so far that it's going to actually make them question other shots as well.
Well, the media was pushing it from the get go. I was very skeptical because we know the media never tells you anything that's really harming you. We know they never publish, what's really going on. So, the fact the media was all over it, I was like, well, what's going on here? Because the media
Mhm.
never covers anything real. They just don't. And I think what struck me again on this tour, and as much as I love it and as much as it's an incredible journey and the bus is incredible, I'm always struck every day when I get on that bus how absurd it is that this is what we have to do. That this is what we have to do to have a conversation about this. How ridiculous. Like, sometimes I do look at the bus and it's just a symbol of everything that goes wrong with our media and with the government, that this is what we're reduced to. We have to buy a bus and brand it and drive around and meet people nearly individually along the way because they're that scared of, even speaking about it. Like, why can't we just ask the questions? Why can't we have this out on media? Why can't we have this debate? I mean, we know why, But it did just strike me as ridiculous almost every day that this is what we have to do. I mean, I love doing it, but it's insane that that's what we have to do.
I agree. I agree. Sharon Bailey said there is a letter for vaccine injury. Let me try this in English. Vaccine Injury Awareness Month, informing doctors of the Vaxxed tour videos, print and send or deliver. Sharon, I saw that yesterday. I shared it with the committee and then I forgot to share it on this page. I will do that after we're done today. October is International Vaccine Injury Month, and that is worldwide. So every country has a vaccine injury month, and I'm just really happy that the bus is going to be on the road this year for vaccine injury month, because it's important that people remember those who paid the price for what they are being told is their own security. I love the expression, I'm not setting my child on fire to keep your child warm. And that's basically what a lot of people, a lot of doctors, a lot of government officials, a lot of the media are telling us we should all be doing. So it's very important to recognize the people, the families, the adults, the children who have suffered as a result of vaccine injury. And this entire month is for that. I will share that letter. There's also going to be a newsletter going out this weekend. Sorry, Anita, I was supposed to do one while you were away and I never got to it. I'm the worst.
You're in trouble, Meryl.
Fire me, please, fire me.
That's not how this works.
Darn. So there will be a newsletter going out this weekend, and it will be attached to that newsletter as well. So you can either print it and send it by post the old-fashioned way to doctors in your area, or you can email them if you have a doctor's email address, or fax it, whatever. It's important to let doctors know, because most doctors, we've been finding, are actually very unaware of vaccine injury. Even when they see it in front of them, they've been taught that it doesn't happen, so they don't recognize it. It's up to us as parents and as people who are aware of these issues to inform them so they can become aware. Um, yes, Steph, I will put it up there, I promise. Um, Gold Coast event on the 25th. I'm not sure what that event is, but I do know that there is going to be another picnic in Brisbane on the 10th of October that you might want to look into. If you want to put some information about the 25th down here, Steph, that would be good. But there's another picnic. I don't know the location, but we will be sharing the information when we become aware of it. Um, Christine said, "Good morning, everyone. Sorry I'm so late. I will listen to the rest later." Somebody got to sleep in this morning, which is really not allowed. That's just no, sorry. That does not compute. So, yeah. Viam. Oh, okay. So, Vaccine Injury Awareness Month. I was lucky enough to be in the US last year for the Viam event. So, is that going to be an online event? If so, please send a link through and we'll definitely share that. I didn't know about it. I'm assuming it will be online with all of the COVID craziness, but um, yeah. Sharon asks, have you seen the names of two COVID vaccines are Ambush and Triumph? No, I haven't. Have you seen that? No.
Hadn't seen that.
Yeah, fabulous. Ambush and Triumph. I feel really secure knowing those names and knowing that one of the enzymes that's in the vaccine is called luciferase, which, why would you choose a name luciferase for an enzyme that's going to be injected into people? The virus is disappearing, so a bit late to ambush the virus can only think they mean something else. That's possible, Sharon. That's very possible. So, yeah, this whole COVID vaccine thing is, yeah, it is a day late and a dollar short, because most people are awake to the fact that this epidemic, scamdemic, plandemic, whatever you want to call it, is over. Um, and especially for us, because we're going into summer now, so we're not even going to have a flu season this year. And from what I understand, the flu season this year was a non-event. All we had was COVID. So,
COVID cured it, Meryl.
it did. COVID cured everything. It cured death, because our death rate is down. So yeah, COVID cured death. We should be thanking COVID. Um, yeah, it's pretty weird. Anyway, what else is there that you would like to share with people about what your experience was in Queensland on the tour? And then maybe we could take a few minutes and talk about New South Wales.
On a personal note, it's just really incredible that people do come to the bus and they come and sit on that couch and tell you the most, probably the closest held part of them that they don't really share, that they don't let people know, and the incredible trust really that they put in us. To share their story in the right way, and they trust us with their stories. I mean, a lot of the audio interviews, they're trusting us with that story, but they really want to help people, so they're doing it. It's very emotional, and it's very humbling that people do that, because it's incredibly tough for them. So I just want to thank each and every person who does be brave and come and sit on that couch, because it's not easy to bear that information to everyone, especially when a lot of these people face so much hatred within their own family and from their own friends. So for them to come and bare their souls the way they do, it's very emotional, and it's much appreciated that they do that, to try and help others, and to help their community. So thank you to everyone for doing that. It was very, very emotional.
And for you
Mm.
listening to that day in and day out, how did you handle that? How did you find it affected you?
Um, in ways I don't think we register yet, Meryl. Like on that first tour, we were so shell shocked because we weren't expecting it.
Mm,
I don't think you ever get used to it, but at least this time I was a little more mentally prepared for the horror that is out there. But having said that, when my husband and I were on the way home on Thursday, and got home, went to Woolies, and I said, I'm about to burst into tears. And I couldn't say why. Like, I was very hair trigger of emotion at the moment.
mm,
So yesterday I went out in the paddock and all I saw was cows and did those sorts of things, because it does take its toll. It does.
mm,
They are all sitting here with me, and some really sit with you. I know there's some stories from Cairns that will always sit very heavy with me, because we can't fix things for them. We
no.
can't fix things, and that's what's difficult. I mean, you can give them a lot of love and surround them support, but at the end of the day, these ruins' lives are just ruined, and the injustice of that, it will never sit well with me, as I
Mm.
guess it shouldn't.
No, you're an empathetic person, and when you empathize with other people, it is difficult to take all that on board and not be affected. But you know what? We should all be affected by what's happening out there. It's when you are not, like when you are a cold, heartless creature like Dictator Dan, or someone like that, who I believe is cold and heartless. That's my personal belief. That you become less than human. But we are human. We are exactly what people should be. And I think most of the people watching this are also in that category. So yeah, it is very important, I think, that we are doing what we're doing. I feel, after having worked with the AVN for nearly 27 years now, that this is the most important thing, more important than getting the conscientious objector clause passed, more important than that getting this Vax bus on the road, getting out and speaking with the families and giving them a voice, is the most important thing this organization has ever done. And I salute you, and I salute everyone else in our organization, including the members who gave from $5 to $50 to thousands of dollars to get this bus on the road, because it is all of their wishes and dreams that this happen and that this take place. And because of that, it's happened. It's become not just a dream, but a reality. Susan McLean says she's getting constant interference on the Facebook Live. Sorry about that, but it just goes to show you they love us so much. Zuckerberg, we're both on his Christmas list. We're going to get a card this year. I know it.
Yeah, banned.
I'm amazed we're still here. I don't know how that happened.
I'm amazed too. Yeah.
Oh, and Sally Ann said the Philippines lockdown is extended to the end of October. Government says we won't get out of lockdowns until people get vaccinated. this, I don't think the vaccine's going to be ready until at the end of October. So what the heck? What the heck? And I'd love to know what the actual deaths that the government says have been recorded in the Philippines are from COVID, as if there even is a way of diagnosing that, versus deaths from suicide, starvation, and despair in the Philippines, because you are dealing with a lot other issues that we in Australia don't deal with. So um, I'd like to, Steph said the best part about following the bus is the rear bumper powered by the members of the AVN. That is my favorite part of the bus, Steph. I have to tell you, it's on the rear bumper, and it's true. It shows that our members really did care about this, and I feel that obligation every time I see that, to not let them down and to make sure that that everything that we're doing is because of them, because of the members, and because of the people out there who have been affected by vaccines. So um, I want to just quickly talk about the tour that's going to be happening in New South Wales. We've only got a few minutes left. We might actually end this on time today. You never know. But yeah, nah, it's never going to happen. But we're leaving Mowillumbah on the 16th of October, and the tour is going to be ending on the 5th of November. We don't know the exact date that the second part of the tour heading north is going to be, but I will share that link again to our SurveyMonkey form. If anybody wants to see the bus, wants to tell their story, please fill this in. It may be a bit late for the tour going down because we've already put all of our locations in, though it's not too late to register and say you want to tell your story. We are collecting all those stories now and scheduling them in. We're getting a little more experience in how to run this now, and we're scheduling. I'm looking at scheduling apps on WordPress, and my head is spinning, I've got to tell you. If anybody here is a WordPress guru and wants to help us, please put your hand up. We need your help. But yeah, we're looking at scheduling apps so that it can be more automated and we don't have to be sending out alerts every night and contacting people every single night of the tour to let them know where the event's going to be the next day. But if we, oh, 5th of November, Guy Fawkes Night. I didn't even know that. Remember the 5th of November. I didn't know what that meant when I saw Vias for Vendetta. Thank you, Deborah. Yes, well, I hope we don't have an explosive finish. No, that would not be good. But yeah,
Not good.
no. But maybe we should get some Guy Fawkes masks and the tour with a bit of a display of our disrespect for government authority and dictatorships. So yeah, so it does end on November 5th. We're not going to have any explosion. We're just going to have a really nice day. And if you would like to come on the tour, please fill in that SurveyMonkey form that's been linked in the nicest way, Deborah. That's good. Um, Fill out that SurveyMonkey form that's been linked here, and share it too. As I said, we're sending out a newsletter this weekend. So if you are not already a subscriber, go to avn.org.au, and right in the middle of the page, there's a form. Just put your first name and your email address down, and you will get the newsletter when it goes out. And we're going to have a lot of good information in there, including Sharon Bailey's letter to doctors, which I think is really excellent. Thank you so much for putting that together, Sharon.
Yeah.
Um,
Thanks so much, Sharon. That's brilliant.
yep, it was definitely. Let me just see if there's anything else here that's a question. I find EF, we should all be affected. Oh, okay, EFT. Sorry, Kayleen, I didn't understand what you said. You said we should all be affected, but also take on ways to work through it. I find EFT helps, and I was thinking EFTPOS. Sorry, my mind in Saturday morning. um, yeah, so it's really, I think that it is important to find ways to deal with the stress, both for the people on the bus and for the people who are dealing with vaccine injury every day. I I've met people over the years, and I honestly don't know how some of them get out of bed in the morning because they say that God doesn't give us more to deal with than we're able to handle. But I think that for some families, God has really loaded them down way too much, and they are handling things that I don't think any human should have to handle. And it used to be different because we used to have family around us. Well, first of all, we used to have families that weren't vaccine injured, but we used to have family around. And too many people nowadays don't have any family near them, and that's why I think it's so important to have that community, like what Anita was saying, was following the bus, that these communities were being formed every place the bus stopped. And I think that's only good because too many of us are alone dealing with horrendous situations. And I think it's really important that we know that we're not alone and that we have support, that we have someone we can call on should we need to. So, yeah, I think that's really good. EFT, emotional freedom techniques. Thank you, Kayleen. I got that a bit late, but I did get it. So, is there anything you'd like to add, Anita, to what we've already talked about?
Just said a personal highlight on the tour was meeting Tasha David's dad, and
Oh,
he
yeah.
got to sign Tasha's kids' names on the bus, and he was just beautiful, and that was just wonderful to meet him. It was an honor to meet him, and I was so glad it was him that was able to write Tasha's names on the bus.
Mm.
So that was very special.
Yes, yes. And hopefully we can get Tasha out here to actually take a ride on the bus with us once the borders open up between New Zealand and Australia. I don't think there's much chance we're going to get the bus to New Zealand. I don't think there's a ferry that goes there, but if anyone has an ocean
I don't
liner.
think Jacinda's a big fan.
No, no, no. And I don't understand why. She's got a young child. She should love us. But yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, we'd love to get out to New Zealand, but maybe New Zealand will get their own bus and we can all follow along with their travels as well. So Stephanie says she misses you, Steph Nelson. So yeah.
Uh, we all miss each other. That's the hard part. 3 weeks together and then nothing. It's yeah, we formed an incredible bond. It's that experience was just once in a lifetime, and I'm
Mm,
so glad it was Steph and Haley and Mick. It was yeah, it was a beautiful thing. It was
yeah.
wonderful.
Yep, I'm looking forward to that too when I come on the bus in a couple of weeks' time. So, all right, I guess that's it. I thank you so much for coming on to Under the Wire this morning and for everything that you do for everyone in Australia as the president of the AVN, Anita. You are an amazing person, and I'm very proud and blessed to know you. So, thank you so much. And everyone, have a fantastic weekend, and we will see you next week and take care. See you later. Bye bye.